Welcome. We have another episode of The Weird Way coming in hot today. I'm feeling the call to jump on and describe something I've been going into deeply lately. And today I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome. So this is something I've dealt with a lot in my life, and I've shared a bit about it on this podcast. And why I'm sharing about it today is that I see so many people that are following their own path and looking to become coaches, healers, or anything else in this world. They can come up against this point where it's like, who am I to be doing this? Who am I to be saying this, doing this? Can I receive for this? Do I have any worth? And there is so much of this that comes up along this path. And there's a nuanced conversation to this for so many different reasons. And firstly, it's actually okay for this to be coming up. There's a good sign that it is coming up, because what imposter syndrome is feeling like, who am I to be doing this thing? And it's like, do I have the right? Am I the right person? There's other people better than me. What could I possibly add? These are some of the thought patterns that can occur for someone with imposter syndrome. It can be debilitating at times, and I see a lot of people hesitating along their path because of this feeling. And this gets me because there's a trueness to this. Because why a person is feeling as an imposter is because it is true in a sense. Because most people are like, who am I to say? I'll use the example of a coach, as that's what my path has been for the last 4 years, becoming a coach. And along that way, I've had this come up. Well, when I started this journey, I wasn't who I am today. And when I started this journey, I was probably looking at the person I am today, or a version of this, and being like, oh, I'm not that. And so there was this feeling of, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not that person of me who is a full-time coach who's serving others powerfully and helping them change their lives. I wasn't there yet, but that's who I wanted to be. So there was a gap between who I was and who I wanted to be. And I was like, oh, that gap, it's too big, so I have no right to step into it. And so a lot of people that are feeling like an imposter are actually looking further along the timeline than they need. They actually haven't looked at the next step. And it's like, oh, I'm not that version who is capable of doing this full time. Well, of course not. If you were that version of you, you would already be there. It's that simple, because the person who you are now is playing at the level they are now because they're of the skills they have, who they believe themselves to be. This is the simple truth of it. If you were the person that was capable of what you wanted, you would be there already. And so this dissonance is what makes a person feel like an imposter. But the only way to bridge that gap is to begin, because this is what I've been speaking to so many times lately. The initiation happens along the way. People think that if I can read enough books, if I do enough inner work, that then I will be there and it will work out for me. Then I will have the skills and everything will be perfect and I won't need to make mistakes. No, you need to make the mistakes. You need to be willing to make them, because these are the things that help you learn and grow into the person that is capable of holding the vision. Imposter syndrome is okay, because all it is saying is that your old identity is still in your field. It's saying the person you believed yourself to be is still here, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. And you're stepping into a new identity, and this shift hasn't landed yet. It's like the old version of you still has its claws in you. There's still maybe beliefs or conditions you have around yourself that are making you believe this old version of you. And so firstly, it needs to be accepted. Like, there's no other way around this. And this is what gets me, because a lot of people, when they come into this space, they have a desire to prove themselves. It's this top-down coach and healing kind of paradigm where it's like, I need to be better than you so I can coach you so I can show you the way. And there's this hierarchical structure that is built. And it's this top-down old paradigm. And this is what creates the imposter syndrome, because what it means is, to do this, you have to be on a pedestal. You have to be the one that is standing above someone. And this creates a sense of, oh, this wobbles, like, holy shit, how can I actually stay on this? Well, the truth is it's going to be really hard to stay on it because it's a pedestal. There's not much room up there. And this is where people think they need to be. And this comes down from a lot of trauma, from conditions around what it means to be a teacher, a facilitator, a healer, a coach. And this is the way, like, a lot of us got taught. In schools, people would look up to their teachers, and the teachers were on pedestals because they were the godheads of the school system, and they could tell us what was right or wrong. And this isn't the actual case. The way to overcome this is to change the belief and mindset around what it means to be a coach, a healer, a facilitator, whatever it is, and actually build something bigger than the self. Because what happens when you're on a pedestal, you are the important one. You are the focus point for others. And this is very attractive to the ego, but it is not what is in greatest service to the world and to yourself even. Because the other method that allows the imposter syndrome to be moved away from is actually to be in authenticity, in truth, and to be building a movement towards something greater than the self and transcending the self. Because imposter syndrome, it makes it about the person, not about the bigger vision. So I'll use myself as an example. Right now, I've shared on here, I'm building my business out to 6 figures, and that's my goal. That's where technical goal of my business is right now. And I'm like, cool, who wants to come with me? This is where I'm going. I'm here to serve people. I'm here to help people build their visions, and I'm moving towards my vision. One of my next steps is to build this out to 6 figures, because I know that's going to give me the resources that allows me to serve more people and create something even more impactful. And that's where I'm building my business right now. And I'm not telling people, hey, you need to do this. This is what you need to do. I'm saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. Who wants to come with me? Who wants to actually do this? Because I know that the more people who are in service to soul, who are living their truth, they're going to be serving something greater, and they're going to move the world to a more harmonious way. We're going to change the consciousness of the planet through this. And that is my vision. It's not about me. It's not about me and how I show up and what I'm doing. It's about something greater than me. And so I am just a vessel for this thing to move through me, and I get to be in authentic truth around that. I'm not trying to tell people I'm the greatest, I've done all this, if it's not true. I can say, hey, I've done this. I've built my business to a place where it sustains me. It is my full-time income. I don't need to work other jobs. I don't need other sources of income. That was a dream for a long time of me. I don't need to prove that. There's no sense of I'm so great because I did that. I'm proud of that achievement, but I don't mean to make me better than anyone else, because I'm not. But I've done that. So the people who are looking to do that, I tell them that, and I'm like, hey, do you want me to support you in that? Because I believe I can help, because I've done that. And so for me, I don't feel like an imposter in that, because that's the simple truth. And so a lot of people, when they start out on the journey, they're like, well, Dean, you're there, you're at a full-time coach, so it's obviously easier for you. No, it's the same thing at a different level. And levels aren't relative to worth, they're just levels. They're like a level in a video game. Level 1 isn't necessarily worse than level 10. It's just mean you haven't been in the game for as long. So when people are starting out as a coach or a healer, you're not going to be serving people to build their visions. What you're probably going to be doing is serving people that through the problems that you've encountered in your own life and helping them overcome it. It's to coach and to be authentic and in integrity with who you are, what you need to do is serve from a place of embodiment. And this means that you've been through the problems or you've been through experiences that has allowed you to gain the knowledge to serve these people. And so this requires a level of humbleness. And a lot of people, and myself included, I did this. I wanted to be so great. I wanted everyone to know how great I was and look real fancy and make people think, oh, Dean, he's so great. He's so perfect. He has it all together. I didn't. And I wish I had realized that earlier, because I had to put on a persona and a mask, and I tried this and it eventually broke me. That was what led me to burnout and having to go back to work so then I could support myself before I could come into this authentic version of myself where I can serve from this place. Because I was holding onto that mask and I was like, I need to be seen this way. And I was trying to make myself better than other people. And this was my shadow, because there was a sense of unworthiness. And I hadn't given myself the love and validation I needed at the time to be okay with myself. And this was like another integration for me, which I went on and has allowed me to come to a place where I'm like, oh, I don't want to serve like that. No, that's not who I want to be. I want to be like, who wants to come with me? Because I am on a path to soul my own soul and in service to the greater than myself world. And I believe that when I do my work and serve other people, I am aligned with that greater vision. And that's why I do what I do. So it requires this level of, oh, it's okay to be where I'm at and own that. Because what a lot of imposter syndrome comes from is a level of shame around where one is at. And a person hasn't actually owned where they're at. So before I started on my current journey, I didn't want to tell people I was building my business to 6 figures. There was 2 pieces to this. There was shame that I wasn't already there, and there was shame of telling people that that was a goal, because I thought that was greedy. I thought, oh, that's bad for me to claim that. And so there was 2 layers of shame that wanted me to disown that. So I speak that now and I articulate that and I claim that to remove the shame and accept where I am. And so in doing that, I have no need to prove to anyone else where I am, because I'm like, I'm okay with where I'm at. And it's like, cool, if that's not okay for you, or if you don't want to work with me because that's where I'm at, cool. That's perfectly okay with me. And there's a level of nuance here, because a lot of people, and myself in the past, I would have been like, oh, people can't know that because then there's going to be people that don't want to work with me and I need everyone to work with me. And if you hear that, there's a level of scarcity in that thinking. It was like, there's not going to be enough people who want to work with me with where I'm at. And this was one of the layers beneath the surface that I had to uncover, because really there is going to be plenty of people that will work with me with where I'm at, because I'm further along on this particular skill set. At other things, they probably are better than me, and that's okay. This isn't a comparison thing. This isn't about who's more worthy. It's just about, okay, what skills have I developed and how can that serve someone else? And people recognize that. And through owning that, I actually attract the people I want to work with and that want to work with me. It's a big shift. But if you're listening, I'm sure you can pick up the nuance of that, of accepting, oh, you can be where you're at. People actually find that attractive when you own that, because you're in truth, you're magnetic in that state. If you look at David Hawkins' scale of consciousness and you look up the chart of it, you'll see the different vibratory states of different emotions. So shame is a low vibratory emotion. And what that means is it's less attractive. And this to me is what people talk about when they're speaking raising your vibration and that. And I'll probably rant on that in another episode. But on that same scale, acceptance, love, they're a lot higher vibratory experiences, and this means they're more magnetic. And so to be in them, to be in acceptance of where one is, that actually increases one's vibratory rate, so their level of consciousness, and it's more magnetic as a result. And this is even through accepting the shame, because the shame is a stock fin. So it's the acceptance of the shame, acceptance of the anger that allows a person to move through it and raise their consciousness. Not the rejection, not the saying, I can't feel that, I can't be with that, but the full acceptance of that and owning that, because this is what will allow a person to go beyond it. So when it comes to imposter syndrome, the biggest thing a person needs to do is actually accept where they're at. This is number one. And check in, because a lot of people feel like to be a certain thing, like a coach or mentor, a facilitator, a healer, that they need to make themselves into something more than they are. And this is actually the opposite of what you want to do. It puts you further away from yourself, which puts you further away from your power. So the actual trick to come back into your power is to accept yourself and declare this is where you are at, and accept that you are powerful where you are at. And if your vision is bigger than where you are right now, that is perfect. That is perfect. Acknowledge that and be like, now accepting where you are, because you need to start and know where you start from. Because if you're lying to yourself and being like, I'm actually over here, I'm like 10 levels ahead of where I am, and so I only need to up level one level to get to where I want to go, there's going to be a dissonance within yourself, and you'll overstep some of the lessons and skills that you would have needed to gain from levels 1 to 10 to actually be able to succeed. So it's okay to own where you are. This is number one on fixing the imposter syndrome. I should say it's about accepting the imposter syndrome, and look at where you are serving people from. This is the second piece, because if you're feeling like an imposter, there may be some remnants of needing to feel better than another person to actually serve them. And what this means is you are gaining a sense of worth or validation or love in that interaction. And this, I would say, stems from childhood or trauma or conditioning. And so you need to heal that. You need to sit with that and be with that and come to a place where it's okay to just be the same as someone. And in the sameness, realize you have power. And that's okay. You can be powerful and the same as someone, because this is where you get to truly serve from. Because what I see coaching as, what I see all this talk I'm doing about business is bringing people more to their human nature, to connecting to their humanness, their weirdness. Like, this is called the weird way for a reason, because I want people to be weird, and that means they're probably going to have flaws according to society or the conditioning that they've raised with, but actually they were perfect. They are perfect in who they are. That is exactly why they are who they are and why they're meant to be who they are. It wasn't about being someone else. No. It was about being who they are. And this is what is needed. And this is one of the most beautiful things a person can be. So practice accepting oneself. And then look at the movement you are taking a person on, or the people on. So this is where I come back to my own journey right now. When I say I'm building my business to 6 figures, I'm looking how I can serve at a deeper level. There is a story that's being played out, and there is a deeper story which I'm telling, that is, when people live in alignment to their soul, they give their greatest gifts to this world. And in this giving, we create a more harmonious world. That's the deep story that I'm telling. A level above that is that I'm telling people that, hey, you can live in alignment with your soul, and you can give your gifts in such a way where you can receive, be paid, and create the lifestyle that you want. And as a result, give more to this world. That's one of the stories I'm telling right now. But see, it's not about me. It transcends me. That story will live on if I die. Well, I hope it does, but there's content out there that's speaking to this that's not my own, but it's helping move the current of the people who are following what I'm saying and moving towards on a deeper level. Because when I say that, I know that's not just me. I see there's other people who are working in the same way and moving the collective to a higher level of consciousness. And that's what I see this conversation as a way to move all of us to a higher level of consciousness. And if you're in the coaching space, this is what you need to do. Or a healer, an artist, like what is the deeper meaning of what your work is? And I'm actually going to do an episode on this, on deeper structure and story and why we talk about that and how important that is in this world, because it is, and it's going to be a life-changing thing to actually consider, because this allows us to transcend the self. Yes, the self is important. It's a vessel. And when we allow our channel to open and for the things to move through us that are meant to move through us, we receive deeply, because life wants us to be us. And so when you see that life is guiding you to something bigger, and this is the thing so many people are afraid of, is that there's something bigger that wants to move through them. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what that is. And it's scary as fuck. Yes, it is. This like doing what I'm doing has scared me so many times, but now I'm willing to step into that because I realize I have to complete my soul's task. And it's more I get to now, even when it scares me, because I know there's evolution, there's lessons, there's up level, and then I get to experience new states of consciousness and awareness that I absolutely love. If growth is a high value for me. And so looking at this bigger picture, it begins to be like, oh, I'm in service to something more. And so when I started my coaching journey, one of the things that really helped motivate me was the feeling of, oh, what if I change one person's life due to what I'm sharing, how I'm speaking, and what I'm giving the world? Like, that's all I wanted at the start. I was like, how beautiful would that be to affect one singular person and have a positive impact? That was what was started as my higher purpose, because I knew what it was like to be depressed and lost and not know my way in this world. And I wanted maybe to just offer a glimmer of hope for another person. And so that was my higher purpose at that time. Now that has grown and I want to impact more people. But even if this episode only affects one person, I feel proud. I feel like, yes, this gave something to the world. And this is where we want to come from, because then we're focused on something outside of the self and we're willing to get out of our own way. It would be like if you were in the street and you seen someone getting attacked or injured, like, I believe as humanity, the way to heal is to actually be like, oh, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm going to be willing to go into that and put myself potentially in harm's way to try and move the world into a better way, to show it still cares, to show that it still loves, and give my voice to this space because my soul is asking me to. And that's why when we don't do that, we feel guilt, we feel shut down, we feel depressed because we contracted from the opportunity that life gave us. And so it's this constant invitation to step into the bigger picture and knowing along the way that imposter syndrome will probably come up, and that this is just a reinforcement that you are going through an identity shift. And if you haven't checked out that episode, go back and listen to, I believe it's something along the lines of change your identity, change your world. And I speak a lot more to this subject of the identity shift, because that's what imposter syndrome is at its core about. You're going through an identity shift, which is creating a dissonance in your field, and you're still adapting to this new version of yourself. So go back, listen to that, and just allow this to land. Because if you're listening to this, you are here for something greater, and you know you can feel it. And that's why you're listening. That's why the words imposter syndrome called to you and you gave this a listen, because there's some part of you that's like, yeah, I want more. And that's beautiful. So trust in that and allow that to guide you, because that is where you are being called by something greater than yourself. And this is where the surrendering of your old identity comes into hand, because you are letting go of the perceived version of yourself that potentially kept you small and kept you in a little box. And it's okay to let that go now, because now there is a new version of you that is coming alive and wants to be alive. So let that shine, give your gifts to this world, and meet this imposter. Do the things in this video. Let me know how they go. And if you want to send me a message and share with me how and why you're feeling like an imposter currently. And if you got something out of this, share this podcast. Let other people know that they don't have to go through feeling like an imposter, and there is actually a way out of it, because for me, it was one of the biggest struggles along this journey, and why I'm going to continue sharing about this. So thank you all for listening to this episode of The Weird Way. I'm going to leave it there about imposter syndrome. I did a YouTube video on this as well. You can find that in my link tree or on my YouTube channel at the Dean Bentley. And just speaking to this, by the time this podcast comes out, I may still have spaces available. I'm not sure. They tend to be filling up fast. So I've had 2 one-on-one spots open at the time of this recording for mentoring. So if you're feeling like you're ready to claim that and go beyond the imposter and ready to step into something bigger than yourself, send me a message. Let's have a conversation. This is something I really like to tap into, because I know for me, what that meant was I did have more to give. And if you're feeling that, chances are there is something calling you that wants to come alive. And this is what I've been serving people in for the last 4 years. So send me a message. Let's have a conversation. There's no expectations on that. And let's see how you can go to the next level to bring your gifts alive. Thank you all. This was Dean Bentley on The Weird Way, signing out.